Hi guys, welcome to Safe Diving, my own personal channel where I talk about all things scuba diving. In today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at my cold water kit bag. So inside this you're going to see my dry suit, my undersuit and sort of what I keep inside my bag to sort of basically stay warm. But for the basics, my mask, fins and snorkel, you can head over to this video here where I basically go through what's in my essential kit bag. But for this video, of course, let's take a closer look at what's inside my cold water kit bag. Okay, so first of all we have the bag itself. It's a big duffel bag. This is from the North Face. I have no idea what size it is, but as far as literage, but it is a big old bag. So yeah, and it's water resistant, so that's going to keep all my wet stuff contained on the inside. Yeah, so it doesn't leak in the back of my car basically. Lots of attachment points all over it, lots of grab handles. I got rid of the shoulder straps just because I've never really used them. But yeah, it's a decent sized bag to sort of keep my cold water essentials. So taking a look on the inside, and I might end up getting rid of the bag because it is so big and it takes up quite a lot of the screen. Okay, so the first thing is usually a couple hats. Yeah, there's one hat. Woolly hats, definitely essential, and I usually carry a couple because they end up getting wet. There's another one. Yeah, woolly hats when you're cold water diving, when you wear them in between the dives, they make a world of difference because a wet head gets you cold really quickly. So just sort of wearing those in between dives keeps you warm, so you're a bit more prepared. Actually, yeah, because this bag is so big, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go put it down, and then I'm going to get stuff out of it and put it on the table. So there's going to be a bit of cutting. But yeah, I'll show you my undersuit next. Okay, so here we got my undersuit. This is a Santee BZ400X. So it's a full body sort of single piece undersuit. I used to dive fourth element Arctics, the two piece, and they were nice, but I just find they eventually they just feel a bit sort of restrictive around the shoulders. Not that they're a bad undersuit, they're wonderful, loads of people use them, but I just found for sort of shutdown drills and whatnot it just got a bit much. So so I ended up investing in this. I didn't go for the powered version. You can get it with like heated coils running through it. I'm in two minds about heated coils. I like the concept of them, of keeping you nice and warm. What I don't like is sort of what could go wrong if you're basically if the battery runs out halfway through a dive, then it's just going to screw all your decompression algorithms out, and it could be dangerous. So I just avoid any kind of external heating elements. So so this one, it's quilted, as you can see. It's nice and it's fairly thin, but it's very warm, and it's well put together. And Santee have just like 100 different sizes. I mean, I am an LL, which is a large long. You can get an LLL, which is like large, long, longer, and it's all sorts of different body shapes. So yeah, you can find a decent suit that that sort of fits you really well. And yeah, I really like this. It's a wonderful undersuit. Yeah, plenty of sort of maneuverability, and yeah, it is really comfy and practical as well. It's got pockets, man. I feel like a girl talking about a dress and it's like, oh, it's got pockets on it. But actually a dry suit undersuit to have pockets on is really useful, because between dives, most undersuits, you don't want to take it off because it's still cold out, but you haven't got anywhere to actually sort of put your stuff. So I used to end up like tucking it in, and then it would just fall down to your ankles and it's awkward. So to actually have pockets is really handy. Otherwise, it's yeah, it's just a really nice undersuit. I can really highly recommend this. Yeah, that's my undersuit. Let's take a look at my dry suit. Okay guys, so this is my dry suit and here are all the sort of little bits that go with it. So this is a Fourth Element Argonaut. This is the Kevlar version. The main reason why I upgraded to the Kevlar version is that it's breathable. So in between dives, it doesn't get all sort of clammy and uncomfortable even if you're sort of staying inside the suit. Now I went for a laminate, a sort of a membrane dry suit because I used to dive a waterproof D10 and it's a wonderful, wonderful dry suit, but it's just heavy. Yeah, it's tough as nails, but I wasn't finding myself like bumping into things and sort of damaging it at all. So I just figured, no, I wound it back and I went for a membrane, and I'll probably never go back, to be brutally honest, because it's very light, it's very easy to get in and out of. I can sort of pick and choose my undersuit. I've got a few nowadays, so if I'm not going anywhere too cold, then I can just wear something really basic underneath, and yeah, it's less buoyant as well, so I don't need as much lead. But each to their own. Some people swear by neoprene dry suits. I just prefer membrane now. Another benefit is that this is a front entry dry suit, so I can get in and out of it all by myself. Very, very useful. I bought this just as this kind of silicone seals were really becoming popular, and I swear by them nowadays. I used to dive, so my first dry suit had neoprene, which was okay. I didn't really know any different. Then I got one which had latex seals, which are fine, but they just degrade over time, especially if you kind of store them anywhere where the seal is like touching itself. Eventually it just gets sticky and then it just melts. And the main benefit of silicone is that if this rips, which I actually had a cuff seal sort of rip as I was getting kitted up, whilst everyone else was sort of faffing around getting kitted up, I'd actually swap that out, put a new one on, and I was ready to go for the dive. So very quick and easy to replace sort of any of the seals on this. Yeah, so front entry makes your life a lot easier, especially after you get out of the water. If you're desperate for the loo, you can just do it yourself. You don't have to wait for someone to sort of unzip you. It's also a plastic, is it a YKK zipper? I don't know, because it's not a T-zipper. A lot of people just call them T-zips because that was a brand that was really prevalent with these sort of plastic zippers, and these are very, very flexible, so you don't have to worry too much about them, and they're really easy to sort of do up and undo, whereas with the brass zips that I used to have on my sort of back entry, yeah, you had to sort of work out to be able to sort of get into it. This is really, really easy. And if you're new to dry suits, then and especially sort of front entry and plastic zippers, one little tip that I was told is make sure that you sort of pull it closed and then some. A lot of people, they leave it and they think their dry suit is leaking, because you see here there's a kind of a locking gate mechanism. A lot of people, they do it until they meet resistance and then just kind of stop. There's like a second click in there, and that's what really sort of keeps it sealed, so you just get some water coming in. Now when I'm storing my dry suits, I always put some kind of zipper lubricant on it, and I always leave it closed just so that contaminants can't get between the teeth during storage or packing or whatever. So that's a little tip. Some people say to leave it open. I prefer to leave it closed. I think it swings and roundabouts, it doesn't really matter, as long as you kind of maintain that zipper and keep it clean. We got the second zipper over the top of it, and that's just a protective one. So yeah, just make sure to protect that zipper. On the cuffs, again, I have silicone seals, but what I did do is I swapped out the standard Cytec oval cuff system for Ultima. So I'll show you those in a second. That's a dry glove system. I'll talk about all of my little peripheral stuff in a second. Moving down, standard inflator, nothing too fancy. I did have a P-valve fitted. If I turn it around for you. So I had it it was a light monkey sort of P-valve fitted, just for when the time comes, because on those long dives, you never know, you might need it. So this is a balanced one as well. Didn't like the thought of that cold water rush, and touch wood, it's worked fine for me. Yeah, it sits there, it does its job nice and quietly, and yeah, it's quite easy to clean as well. Thigh pockets, I've had quite a few questions about kind of storage, which I'll do in a separate video. And yeah, thigh pockets are essential. This has one on either leg. These are a decent size. What's handy is that on the actual flap itself, it has a zippered pocket, which I usually have sort of bolt snaps and whatnot in, and plenty of leash points so you can clip things off onto that. That way you don't lose your stuff when you're looking for other things. And a decent sized pocket. At the moment there's nothing in it. I usually empty my pockets between dives because stuff just gets manky, especially like your spare mask and whatnot. But again, we've got plenty of attachment points on the inside. Lots of kind of leashes so you can clip things off, keep them nice and safe, so when you're rummaging around you're not going to lose something. It's just really nice and secure. But yeah, I'll do a separate video on sort of where I keep my accessories, whether it's in the left or the right, or whether it's on a D-ring. But yeah, pockets are essential. At the bottom of the dry suit, I went for socks. My previous 2 dry suits had boots fitted. But when I started reading about dry suit boots wearing out, which mine were, basically the sole of the boot eventually kind of wears out if you're spending a lot of time walking around, which I did when I was teaching. And then basically you have to replace the entire boot, and you have to get it sort of re-glued and cut out and all that kind of stuff. So very, very expensive, very time consuming as well to be without your dry suit. So I opted to go for socks. Neoprene socks, and then you wear a pair of boots over the top. That way, if that wears out, you just throw that out and you get a new boot. So it's not the end of the world if you wear out your boots. So I went for socks that time. Okay, so we're going to put my dry suit away nice and neatly, and then I'm going to show you all of the little sort of peripherals and the accessories that I sort of keep with it. Okay, so looking at the accessories, the kind of peripherals that I wear with my dry suit, starting from the top down, so a hood. So I carry 2 hoods, or at least as many hoods as dives that I'm doing that day. So yeah, if you've been diving in cold water and you've been wearing hoods, putting a hood on for the second dive of the day is just horrible. So actually having 2 separate hoods is my little tip for today. Yeah, it just makes your life so much more comfortable. It's so much nicer putting on a dry, fresh hood than putting on your sort of cold hood. I tend to go for 5mm, bibless. As you can quite obviously see, these were not bibless when they started out life. I've adapted these so they're actually sort of bibless, just because they get in the way, and I know you're supposed to tuck them underneath that kind of cold sort of neck shroud thing. That never happens. All that ever happens for me is that they flip up and you just end up with that weird kind of silver collar. It's not a good look, so I just cut them off, and I just deal with any kind of flush around my neck. It's not the end of the world. I've got 2 hoods. This I think is my thick hoods. This is about 7mm thick. This is from 4th Element. I think this came with the dry suit, and yeah, it's just a simple hood. Just double check. It's very, very rare that they're not nowadays, but that they're vented. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tiny little pinprick inside like the top of the hood, and that just allows any expanding gas to go out of the hood, just so that when you're ascending, your hood doesn't just expand as you ascend. My other one is one of my oldest hoods. This is a Mares 5mm, and I just like the fact that it had that kind of solus tape on the top. It just meant that I sort of stood out on the dive, and yeah, this beast, he's been with me for many a dives, and yeah, 5mm is that good kind of all-rounder. Anything too thick and I just find it it's like putting a pair of earmuffs on. You just can't hear what's going on, and it's just a bit much. Going down, then we go to my gloves. So I mentioned these earlier. These are waterproof Ultima. I did look at COPPA, but trying to get them to integrate into my my dry suit were a little bit complicated. Whereas these just fit sort of straight out of the box, and they're wonderful. I love these because they're really quick and easy to get on. I used to have Antares. That was less good. I'd have a few good dives and then I'd have a wet hand on another dive. There was no kind of rhyme or reason, it was just, okay, this dive you didn't seat it quite properly. Whereas this one, I've never had a wet hand. Decent size. I have COPPA, these are the really thin gloves, because it's just a simple membrane to keep your hands sort of isolated, but you still have that dexterity, so you can still do complicated tasks, like sort of dealing with small bolt snaps. It's pretty easy with these. I used to have a set of those vulcanized ones, the really tough ones, and they're okay. I just found that the fingers were a bit short, and your actual dexterity was a little bit naffed. So yeah, so I just prefer these. These are like 1.6mm thick. These just kind of glorified marigolds, and yeah, they do an amazing job. And the undergloves, I've got two pairs of undergloves. I've got my fleecy ones. These are just a pair of Berghaus, I think. Oh, silicone tubes, always essential. Just in case you don't know, if you have dry gloves fitted to your dry suit, of course you still have that silicone cuff that's attached onto your wrist. If I show you a spare quickly, and basically you want to be able to break that seal so that air can travel from your dry suit. So you've put your dry suit on, you're about to get ready, you're about to get kitted up. What you do is you take one of these silicone tubes and you're going to tuck that in underneath that wrist seal, and that just allows for air to kind of equalize from inside your dry suit, because you can inflate that from your chest. It allows some of that air, if you lift your hand up, to go into your gloves, because as you go down they really do vacuum pack your hands into position. It's not the worst sensation in the world when it is kind of vacuumed, but after a while it does get kind of annoying, so it's nice to kind of equalize that glove. So these little capillary tubes, these are really useful. I imagine I've got some spares in there, maybe. That's my spares box. I'll pull that apart in a second. But yes, back to the gloves themselves. These are just a pair of, there's the element. I think they're just Berghaus gloves that I turned inside out. I don't know. But yeah, they're just a thin pair of fleece gloves. These are my primary gloves, the ones that I wear. I think these came with a set of COPPA gloves. But these are very thin, but they're very warm. These are Thermolite. I presume that means something to somebody. Port West Thermolite gloves. These are wonderful because they're nice and thin, so you still have that dexterity, but after a while they really warm up. So yeah, much better than wet gloves. I do usually keep some wet gloves around. They may still be in the bag, there's still a few bits and bobs inside of that, but these are what I sort of primarily dive with. Silicone, if I keep them together so I don't lose them. Onto the spares, because we've already opened the box. This is just an old Hollis mask box, and I just keep all sorts of odds and sods that I find inside of it. So a spare cuff seal, just something that I've found. These are spare seals. They look more for Antares, to be honest, but some sort of heat sealing tape just to do sort of quick repairs on my dry suits. A replacement neck seal, always useful. Always keep a spare or two. More of those silicone tubes, essential piece of kit. Lipstick. So that's for your zipper. It's a bit like Zip Wax, but it's like the modern equivalent. A seal tool. So this little guy, he's basically it looks like a pizza cutter, but that's basically for replacing your neck seal. If you want me to do a demonstration video on how to do that, I can. Just let me know down in the comments below. It's quick and easy, but using that tool makes your life a lot easier. And then these guys are just for kind of tightening up kind of seals, and this is for sort of getting them out. Yeah, it's just a useful tool, but you can use a flathead screwdriver all the time if you're in a jam. More zip stick, yeah, Zip Tech. I collect those more. Well, they have too many, they're not enough. A spare glove. That is a right, just in case my right glove fails. I don't seem to have a left. Zip Tech, more zipper. Patches for my dry suit. Another spare cuff seal. I'd rather have too many than not enough. A bicycle sort of replacement tool. I think this is actually what comes with Ultima. This is very useful for prying out the actual rings of that cuff system. But if you cycle, you can use one of those bike tire replacement tools. They're very useful and less likely to scratch your or sort of damage your cuff system. More patches, spare O-rings for my dry glove system, and that's it. I also have with me my DSMB. So this is my large DSMB that usually sits in a pocket on my dry suit. But yeah, I take it out in between dives, and then my boots. My boots, if I just clear the way so you can actually see them. So these are whites. These are actually a gift from a buddy of mine, James. He gave me these. These are lovely boots. They're made for scuba diving, obviously, but they're tough as nails, and they lace up as well. They're more like a traditional shoe compared to the kind of canvas sort of rock boots that you get on a lot of other sort of dry suits. But the tread on them is really nice, so getting in and out is very practical. And yeah, they just go on really easily, and they stay on. They feel very intuitive. So yeah, I can definitely recommend these. I'm not sure if whites actually exists anymore. I think they were bought out by Aqualung, but if you see something similar, then yeah, I can definitely recommend it. And the final bits that are in the bottom of my bag, so I had a microfiber towel. This is just nice for just after a dive. You can get this out, you can sort of clean yourself off yeah, any bit of equipment. If you've got a camera or something, you want to sort of do something, keep it dry, then yeah, just a microfiber towel. I'm seeing some nice new like bamboo ones coming out, which are quite smart, because these ones, yeah, they're quite good, but still it's sort of plastic fibers, and over time those end up in the ocean. So yeah, if you're looking for a microfiber towel, then try and find one of those sort of bamboo or something a bit more natural. But these are fine, does the job. And yeah, my wet gloves, just a pair of 5mm gloves. These are Aqualung Thermocline. These were again from my buddy James, and yeah, just nice pair of 5mm gloves. I don't tend to wear them that much. I just find neoprene gloves nowadays, they're just, the dexterity is nowhere near the same as an actual dry glove system. So yeah, these are just that redundant backup, just in case I rip all of my my actual dry glove and I still need to go on a dive. But it's still too cold for actual bare hands. But yeah, that seems to be everything that's inside my cold water bag. Okay guys, so that was everything that was inside my cold water gear bag. Now, you will have noticed that I didn't include one thing, and that was my BCD, and that's because it's actually, if I'm cold water diving, if I'm diving at home in the UK, it's going to be on my twin set, so I'll make that a separate video that you can watch in some time. I'll basically show you how I set it up and sort of what it looks like, and that's just because my twins basically don't fit in that bag. So yeah, stay tuned, definitely subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be notified as soon as I upload that video. If you came to this video, you wanted to see what mask and fins I use, that's actually on a separate video. That's on my essential gear bag video. So I actually carry 3 separate bags, or I pack up 3 different bags. So when I'm not diving, I have one for my warm water gear, which you can view here. That's if I'm going on holiday, somewhere nice and warm and I don't need my big sort of bulky heavy stuff. I then have my cold water bag, which you've just watched, and then I have my third bag, which kind of goes either way, and that's my mast fins and snorkel, my DSMB, my spools and all that kind of stuff that I like to bring with me on every single dive. So yeah, click here to view that video. Okay, so that was my cold water stuff. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Let me know in the comments below basically how you like to dive with your undersuit and your dry suit, sort of what you prefer. Let me know down in the comments below. As I said, yeah, I'll do a video on my twin set so that you can see how my backplate and harness setup is set up. Yeah, any other video that you want me to record, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so that you can see more of my content, and the more people that do sort of subscribe, the more of these kind of videos that I can actually do. And yeah, if you want me to branch out into other types of videos like my top 5s that you always used to watch, then yeah, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you're staying nice and safe during this quarantine. Thank you for watching and safe diving.